Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome once again to the Bourse Report. Today, I wanted to touch on two banks, First Citizens as well as NCBJ, National Commercial Bank of Jamaica. And given the recent news, I wanted to touch as well on the statement by the NGC and TTNGL chairman on the possibility or the opportunity to pay dividends in US dollars. I'm sure this is of interest to most investors. Let's start with NCBJ. Let us start with First Citizens. As we look at First Citizens, its earnings per share has moved up marginally from $1.30 to $1.33 at its half-year end in March 31st, 2016. Many of the top-line indicators, such as net interest income, as well as fees and commissions, have shown good growth. However, expenses have also shown good growth, and as well, the question of impairment expenses have gone up. These are factors to look at. Very interestingly, as you see on your screen, is what is happening to the loans to deposit ratio. You would see there that deposits have been going up, but loans have remained fairly static, and therefore what is happening is that the loans to deposit ratio is falling. What does this mean? It means essentially that the extent or the capacity to build up the loan portfolio is not matching with the growth in terms of deposits, and there might be excess liquidity within that particular bank as funds exceed the rate of growth of loans. What's our outlook? Very quickly, you would see in the next graph what's happening with First dividends and the trends in dividends. It has been paying a growing dividend as earnings have increased, but the dividend payout ratio is increasing, as you can see, up to 55% from about 2 years ago when it was 45%. What's our outlook at Bourse? Well, essentially, the PE multiple of the company is more or less in line with the market, albeit at the lower end of the range. And we will compare that shortly what's happened with NCBJ, where you would see the first is at about 13.1. The PE multiple really reflects the price to earnings, and the lower the price to earning, it means that there is more headroom relative to the market for appreciation in share price. NCBJ to your left, first in green, NCBJ is 8.5. That needs to really be compared with what's happening in the Jamaican market, where that company is earning most of its income. But let's just take a quick snapshot at the outlook. Our outlook is neutral in terms of our recommendation for the stock, given the trading at a multiple of 13.1, but other factors such as the economy, the question of whether the bank, as every other bank in the country, can pick up high-quality loans going forward in terms of managing its affairs. So we remain neutral on First. NCBJ, we've talked about NCBJ. Again, the company is showing reasonably good growth with earnings up from 12 cents to 13 cents for the half-year ended 31st March 2015. What you see on your screen is the dividend yield, what's been happening to dividend yield, and you will see some slight progression as you go along in terms of dividend yield as well as the performance of NCBJ. Very interestingly, though, is what has been happening with both of these stocks. What you would see is that in the case of First, what has happened is that the share price since the beginning of the year has actually dipped by 5.6%. down to $3.10, versus what has been happening to NCBJ, where this share price has actually appreciated by 14.3%. Economic factors are coming into play as far as that is concerned, and you will see more of that in the economy. I turn now very quickly to the question of TTNGL and the possibility of the payment. I say a possibility because it has not been an announcement that dividends will be paid in US dollars, but there is in-depth consideration for the payment of the dividend probably the next time around. Does it make sense? Well, TTNGL receives virtually all of its income in US dollars, and therefore it makes reasonably sense, subject to legislation in Trinidad and Tobago, that is exchange control, and otherwise, to make the payment in dividend. Our understanding is there are really no impediments, save and except for a decision by the board and its shareholders in general meeting to make that payment in US dollars. So in a sense, things are looking good as far as that particular stock is concerned if payment is eventually to be made in US dollars for dividends. Other players that have made payment of dividends in US dollars, First Caribbean pays its dividends in US dollars. Sagicor declares its dividends in US dollars but does not pay to Trinidad residents in US dollars but does a conversion to TT dollars. These are some of the things you might want to look at. Look for us in newspapers where we give much more detail about our report today, as well as look for us on our website at bourseinvestment.com that gives even much more detail. Look for us as well for our mutual funds managed by Bourse under the rubric Bourse or Save Invest rubric. Have yourself a wonderful investment week, and for any more details, call us at 628-9100 or look for us on the website. This is Subhash Ramkilawan for the Bourse Report.